Before we begin, in the spirit of reconciliation and respect, the InkGuild acknowledges that we live, work, and play on the traditional Treaty 7 territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, as well as the Stoney Nakoda and Tsuut'ina nations. This territory is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. Finally, we acknowledge all Indigenous and non-Indigenous to honor and celebrate this territory alongside us. Dean, hit the button!
Alright, I hit the button.
Hit the button!
I hit the button.
Hit the button, Dean!
I hit the button.
We're started?
We're started.
Okay. Do I go or do you still go? I can go. I'll go if I'm the host.
Yes, you are.
Right on. All right.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey there.
Bonjour.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to the InkGuild podcast. Just go to fucking therapy.
Don't correct me. I don't care.
Need to start a revolution.
I'm going to fucking explode if I don't say this by now.
I brought you to this podcast. I can take you out.
I'm going to summon up his spirit to fix all of this up for me.
You didn't have good enough tea and or comic books, so.
And you know what? I'm gonna say it.
All of them are fucking idiots.
Everyone is taking cocaine.
Just say your morning routine.
Big robot. Oh, I didn't die and make Victor break out his Hoover vacuum for you to call her to grow into her dad.
Finally, his swordfish was free.
Oh, I forgot what I was.
You get distracted by Gabe.
Hello, Internet, and the people who are... Did I really start this video with hello, Internet? Hello, whoever's watching this video, who is... Maybe you're on the Internet, maybe not. We are the InkGuild podcast, and today we're going to talk about... We're going to talk about Korean cinema and Korean media and stuff that comes from the country known as South Korea. I am here joined by Dean.
Hello.
And Lee.
Hey.
And I am your rare once in a lifetime host, Gabriel, and I'm drunk. Today we're here to talk about Korean stuff, and we're gonna kick this off by talking about Oldboy, the one Korean movie all three of us have watched. So
Yep.
So just a quick recap on our experiences with Oldboy. I saw Oldboy when I was a teenager, and and then I like rewatched it in the last couple of years and started like obsessing over it. Dean, you watched it just recently, I believe. Yep. And Lee, you saw it when about?
Probably when I was a teenager. My sister came into the house and was like, "Dad, you have to watch this fucked up movie." And we all sat down and watched this fucked up movie. And yeah, I don't think I'll ever forget it.
It's a pretty unforgettable movie.
Yeah. It's great because my sister, the first introduction, she came home from school one day and was like, "Dad, we have to watch this." And my dad's like, "Okay, whatever. Like, what is it?" She's like, "It's a Korean movie called Oldboy. And it's like about fighting and stuff." And then my dad was like, "Yeah, sure, let's go for it." Nope.
What's crazy about the Oldboy fighting is that like that movie's been so... It has like it's so that whole like hallway fight scene is so iconic and like influential for like martial arts movies in general, and like just martial arts like TV shows and shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're like stuff like Daredevil and The Raid is like even to this day still paying homage to that. And then it like the source of it is like this like cursed piece of media that like you wouldn't dare show to someone lest you want them to be like scarred for life.
Or you're my sister, but yeah.
Or you're your sister or me. I show Oldboy to people all the time.
Oh, I
thought you were trying to scar people for life.
Oh, I wish I knew that like going into it. So how I saw Oldboy recently was, it was pretty recent, and like for a long time now I had been trying to like watch it, but then one day, I think a few months ago, I finally saw it with my partner Mari, and Okay, I was like, yeah, this is a pretty thing. Like, this is a pretty good like revenge story. It's building up. To like this really
Spoilers, by the way,
yeah.
for Oldboy.
Yeah. I won't get into everything. Just like we won't get into everything.
We can get into it. Just like for all listening, spoilers for Oldboy. We're gonna be talking at length about the plot of Oldboy.
Yeah. So to kind of keep it relatively spoiler free for just now, I was going into it like knowing of Oldboy is something that one, Gabe had been recommending forever. Two, it has this really has this really nice fight scene that you mentioned, Gabe, that like a lot of people still kind of pay homage to. And like as a piece of Korean media, I was super excited. And this one had been like revered for a long time. And then I saw it. I cried. Because okay, should we start getting into like the actual?
Let's get into it.
Yeah,
let's get into the spoilers. Let's just bite the bullet now and talk about the ending of Oldboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
I will safely say I did not expect anything that happened at the end.
Oh yeah, I didn't either.
I showed Oldboy to a friend recently, and her jaw was on the ground when the reveal came with the daughter and all that.
Oh my god! I still cringe thinking about it.
What's crazy is how well they do it. Is how well.
Oh yeah.
Not just like the reveal, but like sort of disguising it. Something like she pointed out to me when we were talking about it was that like very early on in the movie when they meet for the first time, they have like this moment where they're very like oh I read, do I know you from somewhere? You seem very familiar. And then he sort of like hand waves it by like bringing up the TV show, which doesn't really explain how she would recognize him, which should be like a thing if you're like in an audience that would like stick out to you. But then the movie like immediately bashes you over the skull and makes you completely forget that by having him like eat a live octopus.
Yeah. The live octopus is very distracting. You are correct.
Yeah.
He ate like I believe it was like it may have been like 4 or like 6 of them, because they kept on having to redo the take. So he was like he couldn't do it in the way that like was wanted. So he ate like 6 or 8 live octopi.
What a dedicated actor.
God. Yeah.
He's like a vegetarian too.
What is this? What's his
no
name?
amount of money in the world.
Yeah, hold on. Let me figure out what his name. Hold on. Oldboy.
It's Min Sik Choi. I think I don't know how to pronounce Korean names, so I'm probably gonna like that. There we go. Yeah. There we go.
You so it's Min Sik Choi. Yeah, you apparently according to what I know, you pronounce the surname first. So Choi is the surname.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
and I know that with like, I think I remember that because me and my friend were talking about the remake of Oldboy, where
they did a remake.
Yeah,
they did. They did an American remake of Oldboy, and I remember when I was telling Dean to watch it, I was like screeching at him, "Do not make the mistake of watching the American one instead," where hysterically the Korean man Odesu is anglicized to Joe Doucette.
Joe.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, no wonder your name was like that for a fucking while.
For context, for what Dean's talking about, my Discord name was Joe Doucette for like the week after me and my friend watched Oldboy.
Oh,
I love it.
God.
Joe.
Okay, so since we're talking about the remake, like how different is it? Before we get back into like Oldboy itself, like yeah,
you're wondering about. I know you're wondering about like the twist. Is the twist the same?
Well,
I'm wondering about everything because that like movie, even before the twist, like went places. Like we were just discussing the actor eating a live octopus.
There's nothing like that in the movie. In the remake, the remake is a very the remake's sort of an interesting thing because it's a Spike Lee joint, but it is not a Spike Lee joint. If that makes any sense, like it's a very I got a big paycheck from the studio to make this movie. I'm just gonna as a director I'll phone it in. Spike Lee's a very talented and distinct director, and it is not visible in his remake of Oldboy.
That kind of surprises me because, like, I've seen I hear the praise around Black Klansman, which I haven't seen yet, but like knowing what that movie's entailing and knowing just how it's the same director, I'm like, shit, I kind of want to see both of them. Like, is it like?
Well, what's crazy is like, oh, sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
What I was gonna say, what's crazy is that Spike Lee does movies like Black Klansman, and he does like Do the Right Thing and She's Gotta Have It, I think is what it's called. But then he'll do movies like Inside Man and The 25th Hour, which are like a lot more mainstream accessible. They're more like mainstream, but those movies still very strongly have like his style. Like movies like Inside Man, they still have like his sort of blues soundtrack. They have his way that he edits things. They have like that. They have his signature shot where the segue shot. You haven't seen his movies, you're not familiar with. Spike Lee has a thing he does in quite a few of his movies where he will put an actor on. It must be like a Segway or like a scooter or something, and then he'll like prop the camera onto in front of the Segway and have it so the actor will sort of use the Segway to move, but the way that it's filmed doesn't show the Segway, so it looks like the actor's body is completely still while like the background is moving around them. It's very weird and jarring, and he does it in like every single one of his movies, except for the 2013 remake of Oldboy. It's like the one movie that does not have this shot.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's directed by Spike Lee, but it's not a Spike Lee movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's like on all the posters for his movies, he has a Spike Lee joint, and that is not on the poster for Oldboy.
Right.
As far as differences go, it's a very different film. I mean, just aside from like.
So, like, did they take it and make it so it took place in America? Like, how off? Okay, because, like, interesting.
Yeah.
It's set in America. They changed a lot of, like, the time starting. He's in the prison for, like, 20 years instead of 15. They make a lot of changes that, like, don't make any sense at all. Like, you know, in Oldboy, they have the whole thing where like he eats nothing but dumplings for those 15 years. 3 square meals a day, all dumplings from this one takeout place, and that's how he like goes to identify where they are, because he follows the dumpling guy.
Right.
Yeah.
In the American remake, it's not just dumplings. He gets like random shit.
Oh.
What?
That's a strange thing to change because it was like actually plot important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a wild stance to take.
It's changed, and then like so there's none of the discomfort surrounding like the food, and then of course when he goes to the dumpling place to try to chase them down, it's strange that he would like hone in on these dumplings specifically.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like when you consider just how important that, because probably some other people wouldn't really even think to look at. Or wouldn't even really consider that a plot point. Some people are just like, oh, it's dumplings. And this is back when, you know, like the story is still very, I guess, quote unquote, naive. So the fact that the dumplings in the original had so much relevance, and for them to just kind of be like, oh, he's just kind of eating whatever now. It's like, what? Why? That's an important element to the plot.
Yeah, out of all the things you would change, you think they'd keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's so much that has changed. It's like a top to bottom different movie, except for the twist. The twist is kept the same, and I am 100. The things that Oldboy, the original, and Oldboy, the remake, have in common are a guy goes into a cell for an extended period of time. At some point in time, he comes out of that cell. He fights a bunch of guys in a hallway outside the prison he was kept in, and then it's revealed that he like did the nasty with his daughter unknowingly. That's it.
But is the reason for someone setting that up the same, or
no?
What?
Okay. Well, now I have to understand, why did someone set it up in the remake?
Yeah,
what happened?
It is a similar reason. It is a similar. As a teenager, he spotted and shall we say a incestuous Alabaman infidelity going on at his school campus, but the circumstances are completely different. The people involved are completely different. The aftermath of him starting this quote unquote rumor is completely different. There's no hypnosis in the American remake, so there's no reason he should have forgot. There's no reason he would think he would have forgotten it, and there's no reason him and his daughter would have met because there's no hypnosis.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just random chance.
Oh, okay.
That just completely undermines like the whole like fucking, you know, well, I mean, for those who have seen Oldboy, like the whole thing, you can pretty much boil down the sentence to like, oh, revenge is bad, don't do it. But then, if you don't like, if like the beauty of it is like both the people in the original were going like we're trying to go for revenge.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Like to have all of it just be random chance on one person's end completely undercuts like basically the impact of the ending, because if with just the ending as is, it's just for shock. There's no kind of like worthwhile payoff or anything like that.
Yeah, there's no like Machiavellian schemer in the background being like, haha, I'm gonna set this up and then he'll meet his daughter and then like they'll fall in love, I guess. Like, which is also like, I do want to point out that is a wild conclusion to come to.
Oh yeah. Like that is insane. And the fact that and you know, going off of what we just talked about, like the fact that was calculated too, that is awesome. Like the fact that like this has clearly affected the two, like what was once considered like the protagonist and the antagonist, like was very strict up until that regard. You knew who to cheer for, and then suddenly when the wheels fucking fell off, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So in the American remake, I'm going to explain this in a bit of detail. It's like so much edgier and grosser and like more violent than like the original movie. And you very much hit the nail on the head when you said it was like for shock value. Everything about the remake is just you can tell that the studios were like, okay, Oldboy is this very influential and like iconic Korean movie. It's very famous for its shocking endings. So we need to make a shocking, edgy movie, and it's gonna be rated R, and it's gonna have Josh Brolin, and there's gonna be like grr, I'm after revenge. But the twist ending, both the twist ending with his daughter is pretty much the same thing, but the twist ending with the villain and his past is very different. So in the American remake, what Joe Doucette comes upon at his school greenhouse is not the villain and his sister as teenagers having a thing happening.
Time.
Yeah. Instead, I'm like, you're not going to believe me. Instead, he comes upon a girl from his school who is like very popular and stuff, who is having an affair with her extremely wealthy father.
Oh no!
No!
Call the police!
And
oh my
Joe
god!
Doucette says this to his friend, and then the rumors start to spread. And there's no suicide, by the way. The sister does not commit suicide in the American remake. What happens instead?
CPS?
No. What happens instead is that in an extended, strange and insane sequence, the father with a double-barrel shotgun murders his entire family and shoots the villain kid as a kid in his shoulder, and he survives, and then he shoots himself.
Wait, so
the father isn't the revenge dude, it's the
kid?
son of this dude?
Yeah, the father is not the one seeking revenge. It's the younger brother of the father who is having an affair with his own daughter.
Then why does the younger brother want
So
Like,
That's wild.
this is one of the things that's all that
Be like, "Aw,
so
man,
it
my-"
is implied in the film that the younger brother was also having an affair with his father.
What?
Like, it was
What?
The child abuse cult. Okay.
And it implies this by after, by the way, the father has violently murdered both his sister and his wife with a double barrel shotgun inside their house. He then goes downstairs to the basement where the son is sleeping on a couch. He wakes up and he goes, "Father," and then he begins to like unbuckle his belt upon seeing him, and then he shoots him in the shoulder with the shotgun.
Okay, so it's just
What the fuck? Like,
I see, like, yes, that's shocking, and I don't like it, and like, don't start a rumor, kids. Call CPS.
but it doesn't make
but-
sense. Like,
Yeah, I don't understand the motivation for the son to be like, yeah, that guy who like exposed our terrible secret and this abuse, yeah, fuck him.
yeah,
Like, I understand there's probably some trauma there, but like, excuse me?
yeah, like you would think maybe, because I was waiting, I was kind of like waiting for you, like for some kind of be like, oh yeah, it's because, you know, like it's because the brother was like, man, this guy ruined my entire fucking family after this one secret. I didn't know about this, but I'm more pissed at this guy. That'd be interesting. But no, it's just, he just gets shot in the shoulder, lives, and makes another guy fuck his daughter. What the fuck?
And he doesn't even make it. It's just up to complete random chance that it happens.
Oh, so it's just a convenient like extra.
Because his daughter does not work at a sushi restaurant in the movie, or any kind of restaurant, or anything that Joe Doucette would be expected to run into.
What?
So like
She
it's
works-
just like an extra bonus for this weird kid.
They literally
Okay.
run into each other.
Oh my god.
They run into each other, and then he like passes out, and she like takes him to, because she works at like a I don't know what you would call it, but like a pop-up medical station or something, one of those type places.
Right.
Okay.
And that is all of it. There's no hypnosis. There is no like encoding him to like go to the restaurant where he meets her. It is completely fucking random. And also the characters' motivations are all fucked up because it's not it's not even about revenge in the American remake. It's not the main character. Joe Doucette is not motivated by revenge in this movie.
What is he
So
motivated
then what is he
by?
motivated by? Yeah.
So, you know the pivotal, amazing scene about halfway through Oldboy where Odesu is confronted by the villain. I can't remember his name, but the villain, and the villain tells him that he's the guy who like locked him up for years, and then tells him about the heart thing, and
Right.
like tells him, and then like taunts him and by saying like he won't get the truth if he kills him now. And there's this whole this is like pivotal for the entire movie, and it's like, so what happens is that in the American remake, the villain goes to Joe Doucette's friend's bar, because it's not an internet cafe in this movie. It's just a bar. He's just a bartender. He goes to his bar with his goons, who grab Joe Doucette and put a gun to his head so he can't try to kill him. That's like a little X right there on things they got wrong for this scene. And then says so in the original film, he threatened to kill Mito if he didn't find the answers in time, and that was like the whole motivation. But instead, in the remake, the villain has a fake daughter set up who is like a body double who's been posing as his daughter for like 20 years. And he says like, I have snipers surrounding her house, and if you can't find the truth, I'll kill her. And then also he says, if you find the truth, I will give you $20 million. And he opens up a briefcase and says, this will be your $20 million reward if you can find the truth.
I'm still confused. Like, okay, so this seems like two wildly different movies with completely removed themes, and one of them I'm not sure knows what its theme is.
Absolutely.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that exact same sentence when the American Parasite comes out.
So like,
the American Parasite is a oh sorry,
I was about to say, So for the people listening at home who are probably confused as shit if you haven't watched Oldboy, what happens? Movie starts. Some guy is drunk and gets like special angel wings for his daughter. Then gets kidnapped and put in prison for like a reason he doesn't necessarily know why for 15 years and decides to shadow box the like silhouette of himself and just go fucking like ate shit crazy with isolation and only eats these one dumplings. Then, coincidentally, he breaks out 15 years later, has an epic fight, and starts hunting down the people who like locked him up for 15 years because he's gone crazy with isolation, and also revenge is a very, very good motivator. After that, he tracks down the dumplings, follows the delivery guy, finds the area where he was. Oh, I'm sorry, he didn't fight his way out. He got dropped off. Sorry. Misconception. Goes through, finds out this big bad dude. Bad dude's like, oh, also he meets his daughter who is working at a sushi restaurant, right, guys?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of this is orchestrated so he falls in love and boinks his daughter. And the dude who set it up when it's finally like revealed and Buddy goes through all this bullshit magical, like, it's a great movie. I would watch it. I just am not doing it justice. So he goes through this investigation thing and then finds out that plot twist, I'm the dude who's like, you saw boinking his sister in high school, started a rumor and she killed herself. So now so this is my revenge on you. Ha ha ha. You did it too. You boinked your daughter.
Uh-huh.
And that's basically the movie minus most of the important bits. Like, those are the plot points we're talking about. So the American remake sounds wild.
Mm-hmm.
The
Did
American
I miss
remake.
anything?
No, I think you got the gist of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as I didn't miss anything important for our lovely confused audience.
Lovely concerned audience who is like, man, I thought I was coming here for like original ideas and world building. What the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah, this is an episode to start in, my friends.
Uh-huh.
Welcome to the InkGuild.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh my god. And given what Lee just described, like, you would think, given the subject matter, just how, like, why the fuck would you watch this? Because it's, like, what happens with the characters is obviously, like, morally horrible.
Mm.
Like, disgustingly bad. And yet, it's the fact that you don't ever really know it until the end is what kind of, like, really, like, it doesn't just catch you by surprise, obviously, but it genuinely makes you feel like you don't know what the fuck to expect anymore. Because in the build up towards it, and the reason why I still kind of like revere it in a sense is, like, it really just kind of keeps you guessing, right? Like, you can watch it back a second time, which I probably will never do.
Valid choice.
Yeah. But, like, you kind of, it's kind of like a whodunit, right? Like, you kind of just pick up, like, little things along the way, and then you eventually kind of piece things together yourself. You don't ever expect the twist that comes when you first watch it, and that's the kind of the beauty of it, because not only is it shocking, but it also makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing when we're comparing the American remake and the original, and as we kind of talk more about like original Korean pieces, just that's the thing. Like, there's a certain kind of like, there's a certain thing that when you're making, or that when you have like a foreign film, especially like as incredible as Oldboy is, you kind of lose that when you like remake it, right? And there have been some incredible pieces of Korean media, which we'll talk about more, but just holy shit.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about adaptation for this sort of thing is that, like, Oldboy, it's like a very, like a part of the reason I think something that's lost in the remake is that, like, the original film is like, it's obviously a very dark and like horrific movie, but it also, and I think like the biggest, this is like a huge thing for it, is that it has this like weird off-kilter sense of humor that like permeates the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a strangely funny movie, even though like horrible things are happening. There will be scenes where like the elevator scene right at the beginning of the movie when he's like in the corner of the elevator, and the woman is like disturbed by him, and then it smash cuts to like him walking away from the building wearing her sunglasses while she's like yelling at a police officer. It's filled with like weird stuff like that. So it's sort of like sells it, and none of this is present in the American remake. The American remake is very like, one of the things that I think the original movie does so well is that like it really emphasizes that this is not like just like a cool badass. This is like a strange old boy. This is a weird old boy, and and I think the American remake puts way too much pressure on being cool and being like basically like sort of it's the best way I can describe Oldboy would be like if someone who really liked John Wick tried to remake Oldboy.
That's a good way of describing it. Yeah,
that's the best way I can describe it. It has that same soundtrack thing, sort of filmed the same way, but it's fucking Oldboy, and what's crazy to me. The craziest part in all of this is that Oldboy, the original movie, is not an original movie. It is also an adaptation.
Is it really?
It is an adaptation of a Japanese manga series that is called Oldboy, and has and much like the movie, it is very, very different from the movie. So what I think is interesting when it comes to adaptation is that Oldboy the manga and Oldboy the 2003 movie are both like, I would say they are exceptionally different pieces of media. Like the story details that are the same begin and end with like Guy is trapped in like a sort of prison cell for an amount of time and then is released, and he doesn't know why. The twist is not present in the Japanese manga. That is original. The reveal at the end about the villain is different in the manga. It is a different thing. I haven't read it. I meant to sit down and read it before this episode, but I do know that it is not. That it is like a different thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I think it's interesting when we talk about like adaptation to see like how like you can take like a piece of media and adapt the story into something that is totally different, but like wholly unique and very worthwhile like unto itself, even though it's an adaptation, because you've brought something like original to the table and you've brought like something unique to your version of Oldboy, the story. And I feel like that's not present in the American remake, because it never started out as like as something anyone wanted to make. It was just a studio thing. Like this movie got tossed around from like directors and lead actors for I think about 10 years. At one point it was a Steven Spielberg movie starring Will Smith, if you can believe that.
Wild.
Wow, I can't. No, that's insane to me. Yeah, holy shit.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of a segue coming up here. I think it's interesting when talking about adaptation to then like look at something like Parasite with its upcoming American version, which is also directed by Bong Joon Ho, which
okay, that kind of gives like a little semblance of interest.
What's interesting about the upcoming American Parasite is it is apparently not a remake. It is not the same story or even like the same premise even.
Oh.
It is called Parasite.
It's just also called Parasite, and I imagine it will probably have some of the same themes or like a general tone, but it is a Bong Joon Ho series, and it is not the same story.
Okay. Okay.
There's other there's the upcoming Train to Busan remake.
Oh yeah, Train to Busan. I want to talk about that too, actually.
Let's talk about Train to Busan. Lee, have you seen Train to Busan?
Nope.
Damn it.
I am a movie pleb. I'm sorry, but I'm really excited to hear about it.
Dean, should you take the wheel on this one, or should I?
You can introduce it.
Okay, so essentially Train to Busan is a Korean zombie movie, and the general idea of it is that there is a zombie outbreak happening in Seoul, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I don't know how to pronounce things correctly at all.
Seoul. It's just Seoul.
It's just Seoul?
Yeah.
Sweet. And there's a zombie outbreak happening in Seoul, and this dad and his daughter and a couple other passengers are on this train. I guess it's where it's going to. And they're on this train, and most of the movie is isolated to them on this train while this outbreak is happening. Some of it happening on the train also, and it's a hell of a time.
Oh, it's awesome. Like, so, yeah, Train to Busan is a really fun time. It was, I think, it obviously wasn't my first big exposure to, like, Korean cinema, but it's the one that kind of, like, this is the one that kind of made me, like, stay on it for a while, because, I don't know, so my thing, I won't go into too much of a tangent here, but just my first real piece of, like, experiencing Korean cinema was Parasite. And from there, I kind of just started watching a whole bunch of, like, very notable, very famous Korean media. And Train to Busan, I think, was maybe the second one that I've ever seen. And while Parasite was very nuanced and was very straightforward and very layered for its story, Train to Busan was just like a thing, was just like a zombie, like, apocalypse with very thing, like, it was just a zombie apocalypse and a whole bunch of very, with a lot of, like, very interesting kind of archetypal characters. Like, you have, like, a busy dad. You have, like, a busy dad with a complicated relationship with his daughter. You have, like, the one badass. You have the school students. You have, like, a pregnant mom. Like, you have all of these kind of, like, very familiar elements, but it's still just so fucking fun. Like, especially because it's, when you think of, like, when you think of zombie apocalypse movies, there's always some kind of badass or badasses that really kind of stand a chance against the zombie apocalypse, and that's very much reflective of, like, Western media. But in Train to Busan, everyone could die. Like, that's the feeling you get, and that's a very real and intense thing, and a really good way of, like, facing a zombie apocalypse. That shit's fucking terrifying. Yeah. Which, by the way, as a quick fun fact, Lee, you've never seen Train to Busan, right?
I have not.
But have you seen Eternals?
I have not.
You haven't seen Eternals for obvious reasons?
Yeah.
Okay, so, it's just that thing. It's just that I think his name is Gilgamesh from Eternals. He's played by, I'm gonna give it a quick look. Ma Dong-seok, who plays Gilgamesh in the Eternals. He's also in Train to Busan. I think, yeah, arguably, he's been, like, just a wonderful actor. And he's like such a fun character to watch in the movie. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think it is sort of like a movie that put him on the map, because it was very, Train to Busan was, like, huge. He has been in some other stuff. He was in a couple movies before Train to Busan, but, like, I think it was like after there he did movies like the Gangster, the Cop, the Devil, which,
I've been wanting to watch that.
Great movie, fantastic movie. He's very good. What I find interesting about, like, about Korean cinema a lot is, like, how much a lot of these actors, these same actors, like, pop up in a lot of, like, the movies that are like that have had this, like, huge impact and, like, hugely influential. I'm not gonna, the guy from Oldboy, I'm not gonna try to pronounce his name again because I butchered it the last time. He's in it, but he's in a ton of other movies from that director, namely Lady Vengeance, which I'm assuming neither of y'all have seen it, but
No.
it's okay. So, fun fact about Oldboy: Oldboy is also, aside from being a adaptation of a Japanese manga, it is also a part of a trilogy of movies called the Vengeance trilogy. It was something Park Chan Wook was working on in that period of time. That was like his pet project. And he did Old Boy, he did Lady Vengeance, and he did a movie called Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Okay.
All of them are
Mhm.
very dark. All of them are very fucked up, each in different ways. I won't spoil the other two, but you've seen Old Boy, so surely you can assess the damage.
Oh boy.
They're very similar. They do not have like this. They're not fucked up in the same ways. But they're fucked up. They will each individually make you like gag the same way Dean did when we were talking about Old Boy, and as
Oh,
I'm sure no
no.
doubt you did when you were watching Old Boy.
Oh
Mhm.
god.
And that movie also has that actor in it, and
Mhm.
the movie also has again, I'm not gonna pronounce this right, but Song Kang Ho. Don't know if I'm saying that right, but who is in pretty much like every single one of Bong Joon Ho's movies.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, that has got to be one of my favorite directors like of all time, right there. Every so y'all haven't seen any? Have y'all seen Dean? Have you seen Parasite?
Well, of course, yeah.
Okay, have you
Should we
seen?
just talk about Parasite now then?
Oh, hang on, I want to see. Have you seen? Have y'all seen Snowpiercer?
I tried.
You tried?
Yeah, I tried watching it, but then I don't know if it was just because I don't know if it's just because like I wasn't into it at the time, or maybe it was just kind of like not to the pacing that I was expecting. But I stopped maybe like 20 minutes in.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
like anti-capitalist messages. I get it.
My God.
Lee, what have you seen it?
No. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I am essentially a blank slate. I have seen Old Boy, and that is all I
Is
know.
that the only movie?
I generally don't watch movies, so yeah, basically.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
I envy you. I've seen too many of them. Bong Joon Ho's yeah. I want to talk about Parasite, but I do want to have a quick aside just about Bong Joon Ho because I fucking love this guy. I'm assuming y'all haven't seen Memories of Murder or The Host or Mother or Barking Dogs Never Bite because no one in the world has seen Barking Dogs Never Bite, so that one's fair.
Mm.
You would be correct
I
on
have
all
not.
guesses.
Yeah, I have
Yep.
not seen that.
So they're very. If you've seen Parasite, and I'm not going to say if you've seen Parasite, you've seen all these movies, but what I will say is that he has an extremely distinct style for making movies. It's not a way that he films, but it's a way that he sort of writes and then like edit. His writing and editing style is very not similar, but like distinct. And like when you want like The Host, I think is probably my favorite movie of his. Very dark, not nearly as dark as any of Park Chan Wook's movies, but a dark movie, and like, but it has like the same sort of off kilter sense of humor that Parasite does. And now let's talk about Parasite, Dean. I know you're itching. You're just dying to talk about Parasite. Let's talk about Parasite.
Mm-hmm. Oh, such a good movie. I really, really like Parasite. It's kind of the one thing that hooked me onto like Korean media, and I think, specifically Korean cinema, because up until that point, it's something that I've never seen before. Like, really, it's been nothing that I've ever kind of experienced or seen before, and it is really just in its own way, like, fantastic. like, of course, you can kind of weigh it against like other very like amazing movies, but just Parasite is such an thing. Like, it's such a fascinating movie to, like, obviously not just watch but talk about, like, especially when you kind of realize, and Korean cinema is really good for this, but just how everything paces itself. Like, there you kind of expect one thing, and then it immediately, not immediately, but just when the twist happens, everything just gets turned up on its head, and you don't even know what to expect at that point. And like, I wish that I could kind of explain the plot justice, but just, Gabe, if you want to take that over. But yeah, it's fantastic. It is so good.
Yeah, so essentially, for those listening who have not seen Parasite, or for Lee, who is here, hi Lee,
Yep. Hi,
has
friends.
not seen it.
Hi, Lee.
I won't get into the nitty gritty because you haven't seen this movie. Essentially, Parasite is a movie following this impoverished family in Seoul.
I believe it's. Is it Seoul? Let me.
It's in South Korea.
Yeah.
It's always somewhere in there. And essentially, through. Have you seen Mrs. Doubtfire?
Also, no.
Shit.
But before we do this,
yeah,
would we like to see what pieces of the plot I have picked up from internet pictures and see how it compares to what actually happened?
Oh, please! Yes.
Actually, yes. Yeah. I want to hear your synopsis of the movie.
I'm going to try and give the most bullshit synopsis ever.
Okay.
Let's
hear it.
So, there's one family that's poor and there's one family that's rich. And the poor family works for the rich family, and the rich family is composed of a shitty kid who wants to go camping outside or something, people who don't like peach fuzz, and someone who is like just creepily sitting at tables all the time, which is a picture I've seen. The poor family is kind of okay with this, and then something is never really mentioned, like something pushes them over the edge. And now I'm not really sure what happens next, except for there's more creepy people sitting at tables, and then like the little kid disappears. Also, peaches seem to be really important in all the pictures, and then one family kind of body snatches the other family and eats them or something. But that is the plot of Parasite as I know it.
You would not believe how close you were until like right at the very end.
You were actually doing really well. Yeah,
that was like a pretty solid synopsis of the movie, and then like an enormous leap right at the end.
Oh, damn it. Okay, so what actually happens? Because that's literally, I thought cannibalism was involved at the end 100%.
Oh, you would.
So
there is no cannibalism. Basically what happens is there's a poor family, and there is a poor family, and there is a rich family, and there is peaches, and there is people sitting at tables. And essentially what happens is the poor family, one of the kids in the poor family, his friend who's like a tutor for the rich family, and he's like, I'm gonna go somewhere else. I need you to tutor this fucking rich kid for me. So the kid goes to tutor the rich kid, and then through a series of wacky shenanigans, he like gets his entire rich family to also be working for the rich family, and then more shit goes down that I can't get into because it's a spoiler, and I really think you should watch this movie because it's fucking awesome. I won't say what happens beyond that.
But no cannibalism.
No cannibalism. It's not even a very violent movie, I would say.
No, like, it's very subdued if you think of it like a very notable movie. Like, there is thing, I won't kind of say, or I also won't say anything more about it, but just when it comes to like what it is, it's surprisingly very, I don't want to say slow pace, but like it builds itself up at a really, really, really good pace. But that never has to come at the expense of like, physically attacking someone or like, initiating a fight or anything like that to kind of like immediately drive up interest. It all just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And that's awesome. Like it just kind of like slowly unravels, and you know, to back up to what I was saying, yeah, it's something that I've personally never experienced before, especially not to the level that Parasite delivered, but it's wonderful. And yeah, just to, you know, to kind of like comment on some other things that I really enjoy about Parasite, like the direction, obviously the cinematography. It is a gorgeous movie. And would it spoil too much if I talk about like the themes of it?
Probably not, as long as you don't get into the guys.
So I'll say this. It's a thing. It's a really obvious kind of disparity when it comes to class, and in knowing that the way that the story paces itself and how that all kind of relates to like the class disparity between, you know, the rich and the poor. Excellent stuff. It is wonderful. So yeah, just it was a really fun like experience. Just as a kind of like thing, kind of like a fun, well, fun, like it's a story about when I watched Parasite. Like I've shown Parasite to like pretty much everyone. I showed it to Mari, I've showed it to my family, and everyone really enjoyed it. And both my partner and my family were like, holy shit. Like I kind of was lost at first, but then as soon as everything kicked in, everyone followed, and that's never happened before. Like, especially
So is it like a sorry.
No, go ahead.
From your description, is it like a body snatching heist film then? Like, sorry, like you're doing it really good justice, and I love, because like lots of the things that we've talked about in themes, especially with film, is that the stories are allowed to take their time, and they don't, like, there's no random plot twist. It always builds on itself. But I'm trying to fit this into what I thought the movie was, and it's not happening.
Well, unfortunately, I don't want to be the one who either like verifies or like completely shuts down your idea of the body snatching. Lee, I want you to find that out for yourself.
Darn it.
But
okay,
I will say this as kind of, you know, to back up what Gabe said. Yeah, like Parasite is a really, really good watch. It's something that you could show pretty much anyone and they'll get it. Like with and the thing is, it's not as there's some like disturbing elements within it, but it's not to the level of Oldboy, obviously, which is a really interesting bar to kind of like measure up against. But no, it's wonderful. It's a really, I need to come up with more descriptive words other than just like fucking wonderful. But no, it's great. I think one last thing that to kind of like, you know, elaborate a little bit more on Parasite, and the reason why I personally really enjoy it is the conversation that it's having about class and about how about like the obvious disparity between the rich and the poor. I personally don't know how well an American remake would tackle that. I don't know if it's just because my mind immediately goes to America being like ultra hella capitalist, so I don't think that they would necessarily tackle those themes well. But the fact that like Bong Joon Ho is returning for like as a very prominent role in that, like, okay, that could be interesting.
Well, he's like full on making it, is my understanding.
Yeah. And I mean, just maybe just the thing, maybe this is just again focusing on more speculation than anything, but just where do you go from that? Like Parasite feels very one and done. How else could you kind of like tackle the themes that Parasite went off of? Right? It doesn't necessarily
tackle those exact themes. What I think is interesting, and if you watch Bong Joon Ho's like other movies, this will become like very apparent,
Right.
Just from any of them, is that like this man has made a career out of writing communist literature. All of his movies are about this in some form or another. Even like it ranges, because there's movies like Parasite, and then there's movies like Mother and like Memories of Murder that are very they're very grounded in reality. You know, they're about like shit that is happening in the real world and stuff like that. And then there are movies like Snowpiercer and Okja and The Host, which are also movies that are heavily about class and capitalism, but they're very fictional pieces. So I don't know exactly what he's going to do with his Parasite series. I'm personally curious about it. I think like I don't think it's going to be the exact. I have a feeling it's probably going to be quite different. Even in terms of its themes. He's a fascinating director, and it's interesting how like I think like his science fiction is almost more interesting than some of his real world stuff, because like it's almost as though like when it's something where he's dealing with like a mostly fictional Okja and The Hosts are set in the real world, but there's like obviously sci-fi shit happening.
Right.
It's interesting how he finds ways to make those themes come through in these like entirely manufactured scenarios. Him and Park Chan-wook are incredible directors. Snowpiercer itself is an interesting movie. I think like I don't know who's producing the Parasite TV series, but if the production behind it is anything like Snowpiercer, it might not technically be like an American production, because Snowpiercer wasn't, but it was like an American produced and financed movie. And the production, the sort of feuds and arguments that happened between Bong Joon Ho and Harvey Weinstein are very interesting to read about. Aside from being a huge piece of shit, Harvey Weinstein also was like really trying to fuck with this movie.
Oh yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
In a lot of ways. So neither of you have seen this movie, so it's like I don't know if this will ring through, but like there was originally going to be it was going to be very Americanized. There was going to be like there was originally going to be a love interest in the film. There was originally going to be like not originally, but he wanted to put a love interest in the movie. He wanted to put like a voiceover narration into the movie.
Oh my god.
And Bong Joon Ho like basically refused any of his notes. In this way, so like the movie got bumped down in terms of its release. It was no longer a mainstream release the same way it would have been had he played ball. And then there's stuff like there's a very iconic fish scene in Snowpiercer where a bunch of guards are seen wielding axes and passing around a single fish and dipping their axes into the fish's guts before a big.
Can I just ask why the fish guts asks? I don't care about any other plot in this movie right now. Why the fish axe?
So I think the idea is that like basically a big giant fight is about to ensue, and they're all putting blood on their axes so that no one knows like who killed. It's like the same reason why like if you have a firing squad, one one guy will have a bullet, but like none of the guys in the firing squad will know who has the bullet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But essentially, Harvey Weinstein wanted this scene axed from the movie because it was like too weird, and Bong Joon Ho explained to him that the scene was very meaningful for him because his father was a fisherman and he was paying homage to his father through the movie, and Harvey Weinstein said that family is the most important thing to him, so he he let Bong Joon Ho keep the shot. And then in a later interview, Bong Joon Ho said, "It was a fucking lie. My father was not a fisherman."
I love that. Good for him.
Yes. Amazing.
He's if you haven't seen any of his movies, Lee, at the very least, you should watch his multiple Oscar acceptance speeches for Parasite.
Yeah.
Throughout the ceremony, as he keeps winning awards, he keeps going up on stage and is like visibly more drunker each time he goes to collect his award.
Enjoy your fucking night at the Oscars, my dude.
I think I don't remember if it was specifically at the Oscars or if it was some other kind of thing, but apparently I think it was near the end of the speech. He was like, "Yeah, okay, let's get this done and over with so we can eat."
I think it was when he won for best original screenplay that he came up on stage and he said like I've now won like 2 Oscars in one night. I'm gonna go home and drink until I pass out, and then he proceeded to win 2 more after that.
Amazing.
What a man! I love it.
And then in the thing after the little photo shoot that they always do with all the Oscar winners after he made his made his Oscars kiss.
Yeah, that's a pretty iconic picture. Yeah.
He's wonderful. I love him so much.
I'd say I like the sound of this dude.
Oh yeah,
he's great.
His movies are fantastic. Yeah.
There's an interesting thing about Oldboy. On the set of Memories of Murder, that him and Park Chan-wook were filming. Park Chan-wook was filming Oldboy, and they were filming very close to one another. So there's this great photograph of Song Kang-ho crashing the Oldboy set in his Memories of Murder costume. Here, hang on.
That's amazing.
And yeah, these just wonderful pair of actors, wonderful pair of directors, wonderful movies.
They both sound really cool. Well, I know Oldboy is not cool, but interesting.
I think if it's okay to segue into a different piece of Korean media now.
You want to talk about BTS?
Surprisingly not. So to stick with like viewing experience, because we were talking about Parasite and its thing and its take on class and its take on the rich and poor, we should bring up the one piece of Korean media that pretty much everyone saw when it first came out, and that's Squid Game. I want Lee to tell the story of how her class just kind of realized of how she just kind of like had her exposure, because she hasn't seen it, but I think it's fucking hilarious.
Okay. So I'm a teacher, and I teach a group of kids, and the first time I ever heard anything about Squid Game, yeah? Okay. Squid Game was like there were like pictures in the halls or whatever, and my kid's like, "Hey, it's a Squid Game, dude." And I looked over, and it's just essentially like a red stick man with like, it looked like the PS4 controller remote symbols, and I was like, I have no idea what's happening, but whatever. And then like overall throughout the month it just kept being Squid Game. We were supervising, and the kids were playing essentially like just games, Stella Ola, red light, green light, things like that. And like it was getting towards the end, and one kid, like they were playing red light, green light, and one kid just like falls and eats it on the ground, and I'm wincing a little bit, but I don't want to make a big deal out of it, because if you make a big deal out of it, the kids make a big deal out of it, and the winner's just like, haha, you lost, and just like, and now you're dead, and just like goes to like punch a dude in the shoulder, and I'm pretty sure it was friendly, but I was like, what is happening here? It's like, haha, you lost your dead. And I'm like, what is happening? They're like, we're playing Squid Game. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I thought it was a red dude with a PS4 controller remote. And then there was a big old deal. We had to go like have a talk about how you don't punch your friends, even if you're playing a Squid Game. And like, yeah, no, it was an experience. Also, internet. I am an excellent teacher, and yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't know about the punching.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, we had a big class discussion about it. We don't do it anymore.
I would hope not, considering what the fuck Squid Game is.
Yeah, that's my experience with Squid Game. So if we want another synopsis from Lee Penward about what she thinks the movie is, people have essentially what looks like a Roblox avatar that they dress up with that's either red or black. It's like a jumpsuit. And then they have a fencing helmet with like a stenciled symbol on it. It's either a circle or a square or like any other of the basic PlayStation buttons. And that's spray painted on it in white. And apparently you play children's games, and if you lose, you die. Now, I don't know why people are entering it. I'm assuming it's some form of money. And I'm assuming it's a whole bunch of poor people, given the rest of the context of this. And, like, I'm gonna guess at the end, everyone dies and no one escapes. That is my guess for what Squid Game is.
You're close.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a 2 for 2 on plot descriptions.
Yes!
Literally everything up until the very end was pretty spot on.
Damn it! It's always the end.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's a big spoiler, but yeah, so pretty much everything up until that point is pretty much spot on. Yeah, it is insane just how crazy Squid Game is. And everyone praised it in the beginning for good reason, because it's just so fascinating, because there's so much going on. Like, yes, like the struggles between class and, you know, the rich and the poor, that plays a big part into the story of Squid Game. And again, to kind of save the story in terms of spoilers, like the people that you're introduced to as your main characters, and given what's at stake, everything just feels so intense and incredibly like scary, basically. Like you really kind of fear for everyone, considering what's at stake, right? And like, yeah, beyond the kind of like the gimmicks of like the masks and like the bright like outfits and the bright, like, you know, the settings and the fact that they're all playing children's games, like there's actually a whole bunch of like nuance that comes with that, and that all kind of like builds up again near the very end. And like by the end of it just feels like everything just makes sense and it all just connects and it's all fantastic. But, you know, I'll let Gabe kind of elaborate a little bit more on it now.
Also, guys, like, do not spare me spoilers if you guys want to discuss things. I am okay with my students teaching me media. I'm a-okay with my own delusions. But if there's stuff you want to discuss that has spoilers, like, go ahead.
I think plot-wise, Squid Game is very interesting to talk about. I think what I find interesting about Squid Game is not Squid Game. I do find Squid Game very interesting, to clarify. It's a very good series. What I find more fascinating to dissect in its viscous, horrible nature is Netflix as a company, as a corporation, and their response to the success of Squid Game. Because there was Mr. Beast's, he did his fucking Squid Game, and now there's Squid Game called The Challenge, which is Netflix's reality TV show of Squid Game. There's fucking Squid Game Funko Pops. There's Squid Game merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting to dissect how stories that are anti-capitalist in nature, if successful, become capitalist.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good fucking point.
How like anti-capitalism becomes like this like almost this a form of entertainment under capitalism, and that like these very highly corporations will basically monetize the idea of anti-capitalism and sell it to people as entertainment without actually addressing any of the problems that they're commentating. Not to say that Squid Game, the creator, is doing this, but to say that Squid Game, the Netflix property, is doing this.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's such a valid point. Yeah, it oh my god. Just I kind of felt like from the beginning, knowing the premise and knowing just how popular it would become, that would happen. But to see to see it, Gabe, as you've described it, like, yeah, Mr. Beast doing a version of it, like, not just in like obviously there's the big IRL version, but like one of my favorite like YouTube content creators, Offline TV, they did their own version of Squid Game. And I'm sitting to myself thinking, yeah, I kind of enjoy this, but like, do you all not get the point of why this is all happening? Like, people didn't like watching Squid Game, I assume, because of all of the childhood games and stuff. Like, it was the fact that there was so much at stake for the characters, and there was so much at stake for everyone who played it, that like that was the whole point of the story, right? And there's such a thing, there's such like a yo, what the fuck moment about when you watch like Mr. Beast and all of like his friends, and like Offline TV and all of their friends, and like even people who are making like fucking Minecraft and Roblox parodies of it. They're just like I bet that they're all smart people and understand the story of it, and like playing Squid Game itself is very much for entertainment. But then, was Squid Game just not just not an analysis of how like entertaining things are to begin with? Because all of Squid Game was just a show, right? For the very fucked up rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which again like plays into themes of the rich versus the poor and whatnot. But yeah, no, you're right, Gabe. Yeah, just I could be just thing, and I don't know where I was going with that. Never mind. Lost my point. Completely forgot.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Squid Game was fun though. It had its moment for like a good long while, and then eventually Arcane took it over.
What's interesting to me is I think you're wrong. This is gonna sound bad. I think you're wrong.
Oh.
I don't think you know that not everything you said was wrong. I think specifically the point that like what everyone was watching Squid Game for was like the capitalist peril of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way the show blew up on TikTok and the way that it sort of exploded in popularity, I don't even know if I know about that. I think what I think is interesting is that this story is that like capitalist realism has reached such a point that anti-capitalist media almost becomes like it's just like there's an anti-capitalist theme in this story, whatever, but there's violence. I think I think for quite a lot of people, I mean, okay, I'm not gonna insult the intelligence of children.
What a disclaimer!
I can't say anything.
What?
Continue. No, never mind.
I don't know if like kids who are on TikTok and who watched Squid Game know about capitalism.
No, their poor brains don't understand that kind of depression yet.
which is I think it's like a I think it's worth talking about that this show exploded the way it did on TikTok. An app prominently used by kids and teenagers, that this anti-capitalist story blew up on TikTok, and I don't think did it because of its themes. I think it did it because of the violence, which is very interesting for me to dissect and get into.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to dissect and get into it. I'm a little drunk now, but like,
But also like a simple story structure too, because like
Mhm.
the simpler it is, the easier it is to like change it into different forms of media. So if it was a kind of simple story structure, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's a very simple story structure. It's just, I mean, like it's just the next episode is the next game, and then they do the game for the episode, and then the following episode it's a different game. This isn't a criticism of the show, and I'm not trying to imply that the show was targeting a young audience, because I know the show didn't blow up because of its young audience. It blew up because it's also an incredibly violent series, and like TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the reason a lot of this stuff happens is because of TikTok.
Yeah.
And it had things about it that were just iconic enough that you could squeeze them into a 10-second video.
Mm-hmm.
I'm genuinely always confused about what blows up for kids, because I've been working with kids for like a while, and like things like Squid Game, things like Five Nights at Freddy's, things like that have a not at all hidden like spooky horror element and it always blow up. And so like it's kind of wild, and I can't generally predict what's going to blow up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think how, maybe just from my perspective, how we see things is because when you look at Squid Game from a surface level, yes, there's a lot of violence and that makes it controversial, but there's also a lot of like, that doesn't come so immediately. Like, yes, it's kind of like you kind of think of it like, oh, it's just adults playing like child's games. There's like a lot at stake, but you don't really know how severe everything is until that first gunshot is fired, right? Like everyone's just kind of like, oh, what could all this be? Like, here are your main characters. How do they all kind of fit into the equation? And for I obviously can't just speak for kids, but just like the innate like appearance of Squid Game is already very like viral already. Like the costumes, like both from like the service, like both from like the staff and the players themselves, the very thing. Like a lot of the characters are very like, like physically attractive, so that kind of like sells their marketability a little bit. But then when you figure when you kind of go beyond that surface of like, oh, everything looks super nice, everything looks really flashy and colorful, then that's when it's like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? That makes any sense? I don't know, like,
yeah.
So I think maybe like the I guess the answer, quote unquote, to that is just with pieces of media like Squid Game, or with pieces of media, or like with like media like Five Nights at Freddy's, or some similar titles like it, and especially with Squid Game, it's like it's viral enough to be everywhere, yet that's only like a passing thing. It's real kind of longevity stays when people are able to like really understand it, right? Because people moved on from Squid Game like pretty quickly. Because then, I think Arcane came around and suddenly that was blowing up all over TikTok.
Mm-hmm. And see, Arcane, at the very least, makes sense.
Yeah,
because it's attached to League of Legends. I can at the very least be like, oh yeah, that's why this fucking blew up, because that's why every League of Legends animated short blows up on TikTok and has like a million edits and hot takes about it, or whatever. I feel like we've run the gambit on Squid Game. Dean, do you want to? I feel like this has been like you're gonna die if you don't talk about BTS. Do you want to talk about BTS or K-pop?
I can certainly try. Because
Can I ask a stupid question before?
What's up?
Go for it.
What does BTS stand for?
What does BTS stand for, Dean?
Bangtan Boys.
Okay.
Yeah, so Bangtan is.
I have a follow-up question.
What?
What does that mean?
So Bangtan is the region where the region where these boys were coming from, or they're kind of like built from. They originally, I think it was originally kind of tied to, I think one of the early names was Bulletproof Boys, and if you kind of see their earliest albums, it's very influenced, like, all of these boys are very bulletproof. Their music goes like really intense and stuff like that. And I will describe as best I can the history of BTS and how it kind of relates to the K-pop industry, because K-pop as a piece of Korean media is everywhere. And so the thing is with BTS, because everyone knows BTS at this point, whether you listen to K-pop or not, they are inarguably the face, in my opinion, of K-pop right now. Like, for those who don't even know what K-pop is, if you think BTS, oh, they're K-pop, that's it. Because of just how influential and how important their outreach has been towards exposing people to like Korean pop and Korean music in general. And as a bit of a history for BTS specifically, they started like how a lot of like groups in K-pop start, and that is through auditions. Everyone auditions within the industry and sign with big record companies. They either sign to be part of a group or to be or to be solo artists, but basically all of them are signed to then train as K-pop idols. And as K-pop idols, they go through some intense like stage training, music training, English training too. And BTS was no different. It wasn't some unique kind of like origin story compared to like other K-pop groups. And that I'll kind of expand on later. But basically, when BTS started, they were relatively unknown, and they were going off of, I think, the Bulletproof Boys, or like Bangtan Bulletproof or something. Like their whole thing was like they were very confident, very strong performers, but also very underrated. And it's over time that as they changed their style and as they changed their music, they blew up, because everyone now started recognizing BTS, not just like within K-pop, but around the world, because of just how kind, of how nice, of how sweet all 7 of them are. But also just how genuine and down to earth they all seem to be, for being basically for starting out basically as like any other K-pop group, right? And a bit of more history about BTS. So they signed under Big Hit at the time. Now it's Hybe, I think. And when they signed, it was still relatively like thing. They weren't like obscure, but they were certainly very underrated. They didn't have as much traction as they did compared to some of the other big groups, especially what is known in K-pop as the big 3 record company, or companies basically. So that's JYP Entertainment, YG Entertainment, and then I think SM Entertainment. Those are your big Korean media music publishers, or music distributors. They are responsible for some of the biggest groups in K-pop, and their system of creating groups is no different compared to how BTS started. You take idols you take very talented musicians, bring them into a group, and then that's your group. You debut them together. So it's all very similar, and it all feels very like the same. But with BTS, it's special because of a variety of things. Everyone kind of keeping up, or did I slow down? Okay,
Nope,
so
I'm following so far.
okay, so with BTS, they kind of play into a lot of what they kind of like have become very synonymous with what modern K-pop is, and that is they are everywhere. They have variety shows where they play games, cook, eat, just live together basically. They all have very strong social media presences. They have very popular thing. They have very notable fan bases. But the things that make BTS very special in the world of K-pop, and I guess in the world of music nowadays, is the fact that they are very strong the fact that they are very strong artists, collectively and individually. They all write their own songs. They focus on themes that not a lot of Korean music talks about in general, such as mental health, depression, work, or struggling to work, which when you're making pop music, you don't really have the opportunity to make that. And basically it's that kind of independence that is stuck with them throughout their entire careers, and it's what helped them build their fan base, ARMY. And ARMY itself is very responsible for BTS blowing up because it was a very strong, very dedicated following, and it has since become globally massive. Because as a commentary on how K-pop markets their idols, basically, it's because they're groups, you kind of follow, you have the funny one, you have the charming one, you have the very attractive one, you also have your roles, right? So you have your rappers, you have your singers, you have your dancers, and that applies for not just BTS but for all some of the most big or some of the biggest K-pop groups. And I'm about to say a whole bunch of names for you guys, so I'm not going to try to confuse you guys here, but ITZY, Wonder Girls, Twice, they're very popular girl groups. Meanwhile, ATEEZ, BTS, 17, 17, all of those are boy groups, but pretty much they all still follow the very same formula. No matter what company, or no matter when they started, it all feels very interesting. And a K-pop song is a K-pop song based on its visuals, its music videos, but also in just how the idols are presented. They're very every single shot in a K-pop music video is like a glamour shot. They all look stunning. And that's essentially how K-pop became such an influential thing. They are everywhere. There's always a group for your own personal palette, right? If you don't want to listen to 17, you listen to Twice. And if you don't know if you don't want to listen to ATEEZ, you listen to ITZY. But all of that started, I think, with BTS, personally, because BTS blew up globally. K-pop has been trying to K-pop, like Korean cinema, has been very renowned, I think, but it's only recently that people have been taking it very seriously. There were a lot of popular movies before Parasite, but it's because of Parasite that people are now watching a lot of Korean cinema. Likewise, K-pop existed way before like the rise of BTS, but it's because of BTS that everyone knows about K-pop, whether they like it or not. And it's because of and as a personal fan of BTS, like still, like I still fall for a lot of things. I still fall for like a lot of the charm that is inherently there to, you know, to have people think, to have people buy their albums. And that's not to say that it's not genuine, because you can feel that like all 7 of the members in BTS are genuine, but that still feels that is still like part of how BTS is marketed. Like you have each of the members having their own like personality traits, like character, like identity, basically musical styles, all of that. And that's the point. Like it is still very like Korean music, and specifically like boy groups in general still are very they're still very how do I say this? It has the kind of popularity and like and influence among young listeners the way that like, you know, NSYNC and One Direction had. Like they're a group. You kind of pick, then you kind of decide who's your favorite. But what's special about K-pop what's special about K-pop is that there's just so much for people to like listen and enjoy, that you start maybe with BTS or you start with Twice, but then you just go down a deep rabbit hole of like all these like really talented performers and all of these really like interesting like concepts and like appearances, and it all just feels like it all just feels very like there's just so much content within K-pop, not just music wise, but like I said earlier, variety shows, web comics, video games, even I'm imagining, like, you know, live streams. It's everywhere. It is like Korean music is not even just Korean music anymore. It's literally like that's just the umbrella term for everything that comes with being a K-pop idol and being a fan of K-pop. So
okay.
Yeah. To kind of like start closing down on it, because I did a lot of talking on that.
Oh,
hey. Like it's very much like going down the rabbit hole that is K-pop is very much its own lore dive. And I'm serious when I say that. Like you start off with your base, you know, you start off with like your one story that kind of kicks off like the entire journey from there. And when I mean that, I mean like it's kind of like it's very similar to if you read Lord of the Rings as your first fantasy book, then you just get hooked onto fantasy reading. If you start off with Star Wars as your movies, you have this very strong emphasis for science fiction. When you start off with BTS or when you start off with any other group, it just leads you down this rabbit hole, because you're thinking, oh, this like these idols collaborated with this person. Who is this person? Like they toured this place. What else, like how else are they going to tour? Like they're on this variety show. Like look at how much fun they're having outside of K-pop. And even when you know that it's all, I don't want to say manufactured, but when it's all very like industry standard to
curated?
Curated, yeah. When it feels very not genuine or disingenuous, like you kind of then start thinking like, how are these idols like really behaving? Because ultimately, like as an industry, again, a lot of things, and this is a critique, like a lot of idols and a lot of groups still feel very similar, and there isn't a lot of growth sometimes between concepts and between things. Like it all still sounds relatively the same, give or take a couple of examples, which, you know, I could do a whole separate episode on K-pop, but just like basically when you're diving into like Korean music, it in itself is like exploring just how fascinating and like how fascinating it is to explore like another culture's take on something that you already know, right? Like, you know, Korean cinema is not a new thing, like Korean dramas are not a new thing, and yet the way that Korea's culture and the way that they approach themes, marketing, like the fact that it's everywhere too, and the fact that you could have like millions of people loving your one thing for years at that point, like there is something special to that. And for people like me who like know that and have our favorite groups and have our favorite idols and have like have your favorites basically within K-pop, like there's so much to choose from. Like you have One Direction and Sync that are very like, I guess for their time, like, you know, One Direction was very, you know, very 2010-ish, not like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were very, you know, 1990s-ish, and you can kind of like associate it with that given time period. But with K-pop, there is a new generation of like singers coming out every few years, so it continues to stay fresh that way. But, you know, that being said, there will still be very few groups that kind of like compare to or feel like BTS, because like it's not supposed to, right? And I'm kind of just going off on a tangent now, so yeah, that is K-pop.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. That sounds interesting. But from what I'm hearing about this is that BTS is a gateway drug for the rest of the genre?
Basically, like, when you start off with BTS, you know them as 7, or you know them as the number 7, and you know them by their stage names. You know them as Jimin, Jungkook, V, RM, Suga, J-Hope, and Jin. But then, after watching more of their variety shows, and after watching, like, you know, their, like, how they handle themselves on social media, how kind they are, like, really, once you kind of explore just how these how these idols are as people and not idols, then you now know them as Jimin, Jungkook, Taeyong, Yoongi, Namjoon, Seokjin, and Hobby or Hosok. Like, you know them by their given names, and that pretty much goes with any kind of group. Yeah, basically it's a gateway drug, because it's basically just like an example of like fan investment. Once you are interested, then you want to know more, and then when you want to know more, and then you want to like eventually like, you know, keep up with them as much as possible, right? So you buy their music, you buy their albums, which I haven't even begun to like describe what a standard Korean, or like what a standard K-pop album comes with. Like, do you guys know about that? Because I think it'll blow your mind.
No.
Okay.
I'm all ears.
So, I cannot take it right now, but basically I have 2 BTS albums, Love Yourself, Tear, and Map of the Soul 7. When you think of like a CD album, what can you picture being inside it? The CD and a booklet about like the CD and a booklet about like what songs are on it, who produced it, that stuff, right?
Yep.
Or in the case of the Diddy Kong Racing official soundtrack, a disc that is in the shape of Diddy Kong's face and cannot be played on any disc player.
Okay, so that
Go on.
So I have my version of Love Yourself Tear, which is part of a trilogy of Love Yourself albums. You have the disc on its own, in this really nice packaging, but you also have a photo book with all 7 members. You have a photo book with all 7 members. You have this little cutout thing where you can just place it like a bookmark, basically. You have a photo card of one of the 7 members. Some are exclusive things. Some are exclusive photo cards too. You have a notes document about thing. You have a notes document all in Korean about the process of the songs. You also have I don't know what this specific thing is, but I think it's some kind of like promotion booklet. And then you have a Big Hit membership survey.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And this is just like this is just like Love Yourself tier. Let me grab Map of the Soul 7. If I can not. Okay. All right, I got it. So, Map of the Soul 7 is a significantly bigger book, and I'll take a picture of this for you guys to, see. But Map of the Soul 7 is significantly bigger compared to Love Yourself tier. The disc is on one side of this giant book, and in it you have a booklet of the songs and the producers behind it. You have a color sheet, or you have a stencil of the 7, which you as a fan can color in. You have a photo card. You have a separate sheet about all of the things signed by all of the members. You have a sticker sheet. You have another thing. You have another booklet. You have another piece, like a little pamphlet here. Another note sheet. A sound check sweepstakes thing. A sound check sweepstakes card. A QR code with a QR code of the album, and a fan poster. So this the fact that there's so much within an album, and particularly when it comes to the photo cards, is like a genius marketing tactic, because it gives fans, especially young fans, incentive to buy multiple versions of the same album, because you don't know if you're going to get the photo card of your bias or your favorite member. And that is both, as I just said, genius, but also kind of sleazy, because then it's like you're just having fans buy up multiple versions of the same album, trading the entire album away just to get one photo card. And on top of all of that too, it is just insanely Yeah.
Lee?
Oh, Lee left recording. Oh, there she is.
Lee.
Hi. Sorry, friend.
It's okay.
Yeah. I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, so this is thing. Lee, have you seen the picture that I sent?
No.
Okay, so it's in the InkGuild projects shot. I'm talking about the thing. I'm talking about the
the book.
These are just 2 albums, and between it there's so much merch, right? That is basically just given to you. Yeah. Which again, go ahead.
Go first. No, you go first.
Well, I was just saying, it basically just creates a lot of incentive for fans to buy it, or to buy not just the one album, but multiple versions of it, to get either the photo card that you want, or the thing, or the or the right posters that you want. There's different versions of this that so many people just buy, and that's what makes it just so successful, right? You have so much fan participation and fan incentive to not just listen to the music, but buy physical merchandise, which in the world of streaming is thing. It's incredible that they're able to still give incentive to buy physical albums.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that, and it's interesting, especially because it would be significantly easier just to download the song, right? But by adding that entire experience, they probably increase the people who are buying the physical product.
Mm-hmm. Which for, again, you have fantastic music, but in order to, I think what the K-pop industry gets about what they get about music is that because like in a world where basically physical like CDs are dying, like it still just gives you plenty of incentive to, you know, buy it. Also, I will be right back. I have to go to the washroom. Okay. All right, BRB.
Coolio. So the reason I dropped out is because my cat decided to lay down in my laptop and just happened to press right on the power button.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, yeah, she is trying to sabotage us all.
Cats.
She's evil. And that's okay. As long as she's supposed to be evil. The Korean media, like, seems really interesting. And I'm kind of sad that I don't watch more movies because I feel like I could have done more, but I'm learning a lot. I'm liking what I'm learning.
Right on. I feel like if you're looking to get it, I feel like Snowpiercer is probably a good gateway drug. That's like the most like I think accessible movie we've talked about.
Yeah.
It's got Chris Evans in it, so it's very like
Yeah. Fair enough. We'll see. For round 2. What's your favorite Korean movie then?
It's Oldboy.
Oldboy?
Oldboy is like on my top 5 all time.
So, when we were talking about it a while ago, you said it influenced a lot of media that came after it. Did it influence like the photography style, the twist style, or like
Not the twist style. That's very I think that was a little bit too dark for but
not like the twist, but the style of having a slowly building story that accumulates into this giant like hidden
I think that's just thriller.
Okay, fair enough. I don't watch too many movies, so like yeah.
Oldboy is a lot of the reason. Lee just asked like about Oldboy being influential and stuff.
Okay.
The reason why it's I say it's an influential movie is Oldboy is like there's a very notable spike in violence in Korean cinema, especially Korean art house cinema, following the release of Oldboy. So like I mean, it's I think there's just like it's just film industry stuff. A lot of people in the Korean film industry recognize that Oldboy it made like I think $93 million in the box office, which like it doesn't sound like a lot now, but for like 2003, that's insane numbers, especially for like a South Korean movie.
Yeah.
And that was just in South Korea, I believe. I think it was a huge movie, and I think immediately following its release, there was a leap in South Korean cinema towards like violent action and lots of like gritty filmmaking. There was a big leap in thrillers, that sort of thing, and also of course like martial arts. The movie, the way the hallway scene specifically is like again very influential on martial arts cinema in in contemporary modern martial arts cinema.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Dean, you are back.
Yes. I think just to kind of close off on the talk of K-pop really quick. It's because I've kind of given like as much knowledge as I can on the subject. In summary, it's big and very influential, and it's not just one group, and that's that's basically the point of it. Like there's so much for fans to kind of like see and enjoy, and like it doesn't go unrewarded either, like because of stuff like the like albums, variety shows. Like it's more exposure than a lot of Western artists kind of give to their fans. Like you'll never see like fucking Ariana Grande playing on a variety show just casually right? And you'll never see thing. You'll see maybe clips of thing. You'll maybe see clips of like let's say Ed Sheeran, just to pick a regular or just to pick a pop star. Just like you'll see clips of him on vacation, but you'll never get like a fully produced, fully edited like vacation vlog, which is basically what BTS in the Soup is. It's like all 7 members are just away at they're just away in this one like vacation house for like X amount of days, and they're just there chilling, not working. And like you don't get that in Western media. Like you don't get that kind of fan engagement, which not only like allows fans to like, you know, further connect with and further relate to their favorite idols, but also just, you know, it also just rewards them for their investment, you know. But yeah, so that's all that I can spare when it comes to K-pop.
Yeah, it's a lot more than I would do originally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do think
I've learned so much about K-pop through these episodes.
Yeah. Like I really do recommend listening to not a full album of like K-pop, because, you know, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But if there's one, I guess, you know, if I give you the first pill of to the gateway drug that is K-pop, it is Black Swan by BTS, which Gabe, I have told you about before, but it's basically my favorite K-pop song. It's maybe my favorite like song, like lyrically, of all time.
Mm.
Like it is like a gorgeous song with a gorgeous melody, but also like very like relatable lyrics. And like if you know, for some people who are able to just, you know, cross the language barrier, it really connects with, you know, and Gabe, I've told you about that, but basically just like it makes sense to me, at least, like why the song resonates. So yes, that is K-pop in a nutshell.
Delightful.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than I knew originally. Thanks for teaching it to us in the wider internets.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I believe that is all I had written down in the thing, and that is all we had to say. Does anyone else have any closing statements on Koreans? Just Koreans? On Korean media?
I know significantly more, but still very little.
Right on.
And I'm excited. I might watch a couple of movies.
I think I don't have anything else to say, really. Like I've getting to talk about K-pop was fun, but yeah, just like the movies and the media that we have talked about, like in general, reflects a lot of like just how mainstream South Korea is, because of just how like massive their media is. Okay, but yeah, as far as like topics go, I'm good.
Yeah,
Sweet. And I think we're going to end this episode here. Almost 2 hours on the dot. Longer than I expected to be able to talk about Korean media for, so fuck yeah. We're gonna call it here. I am Gabe Rosia. I am here with Dean and Lee. And good night. Beautiful souls of the InkGuild audience. Dean, hit the button.
Okay, all right.
Hit the button.
I'm hitting the button. I'm hitting the button.
Goodbye,
Dean, hit the button.
Night, everybody. Good. Okay, hitting the button.